Oh, this is 9, I'm sorry. What? Yeah, I'm going to start with 9. I got mine versus yours. Mine has the homework on it, yours does not. Oh, I love this. Of all the things I learned in biology, I think Gregor Mendel and the laws of heredity I had much fun learning those because they actually was pretty cool. This guy was a monk.
Where's it from?
Huh?
Where's it from?
I think it's Austria. But he had a hobby. He was a gardener for a hobby, and he raised peas. Of course, he died a while back. Didn't live very long, about 62 years. But just look at it for now, but I'm gonna post it for you. I want to kind of talk about it now. He did work with, I think they're called early peas, but pea plant. And what he learned, we now know applies to animals too. Because when I was in college, to get my first degree, we did a thing with fruit flies. And they were little maggots first. And when the fly is born, some got white eyes, some got red eyes, some have a long abdomen, some short abdomen. So but then we let it get born and we separate. Then we cross the red-eyed flies or white-eyed flies. We might get polka-dot-eyed flies. But when they all got born, they all had red eyes. Where'd the white go? Then that's a recessive trait. If you have at least one dominant trait, you cover up the recessive. And that's what was in there. And you put your fly to sleep with ether. You don't kill them though. You got to watch them. And we have a dye technoscope, and we have little fine paintbrushes, and you push them around with the paintbrushes, and they'll jump now and then. But to wake up, you got to bait your problem. They'll fly off, and you got to start next quarter and do it over again. I was in there, and I can't think of her name now, but a girl came in, and she was in the lab. Her boyfriend joined her, who was not a science major. She began talking to him. Now, we bring Afghanistan, and we're by ourselves. My flies are getting kind of, I got to get y'all back in here and give you a shot. Well, I realized that, her flies, she's talking to her boyfriend. They're laying on the scope. I saw one fly by me. Oh, God. I said, your flies! Too late. She got an F for the quarter, had to start over again. No, she had been professor, no prisoners. He said,
we leave my boyfriend alone.
I didn't even think about it. Saying, first off, it's kind of my own business. But when I saw one fly by, I went, your flies! And then by then, she didn't have enough left to even do the experimentation because the entire quarter was those flies. It took a while to grow. And I guess cell phone would have been just as bad if he called her on cell phone, but he came by and talked to her. And they were not mad or anything, she just talking to him and got her mind know what she was doing. But Gregor Mendel is the one that considered to be the starter of all this stuff. He's the father of genetics. Very, very mild-mannered, low-key man, and just luckily he published stuff. But his findings were found like 12 years later. He wasn't like in Nature, the big magazine. All right. The common pea plant, he crossbreeded them. And he did it for years. He was counting like 1,000 peas to get his numbers. I have one book that had his numbers in. I thought, man, this guy he had no life at all. All you do is counting those things. And he had like, 1,000 of the yellow ones and 350 of the white ones. And I'm going, how long did it take you to count 1,000 of these plants? How big is your garden? And he grew food for the monastery. He fed the monks and stuff. But anyway, he found out that you have tall plants, 6 feet tall, and little foot tall plants. Well, what they do, he takes some pollen from this plant with his little brush. He rub it on this flower. That flower would then set seed. He would plant seeds to see what grew up. When he did that one, he took the short. He figured he had maybe 500 tall and 500 short. They all came out tall, every one of them. He goes, oh man, why ain't any of them short? Then what he did, it took a while. That's called the that's the F2 generation. F1s are the parent plants. So then he said, well, now I crossed over a small and a tall, and they got all tall. Let me cross two of these talls. So he took the children, that's incest, but not the plants though. So he took the F2s, and he crossed those and planted them. Then he got both tall and short. And he found like of 1,000 plants that he planted, about 750 were tall, and about 1/4 were short. And he went, I bet you that gene for that short plant is in that tall plant, but it's being covered up by another gene that makes it tall. And when I crossed two of them, then the short gene from this tall plant, by chance, got the short gene from this one and made a short plant. And that's how it actually works. Those are called Mendelian traits, where one trait, our eyes are not Mendelian, because you have blue eyes, brown eyes, and green eyes. This is Mendelian. You got some folks whose earlobe hangs down, comes back up, and some go straight into the ear. The hanger-downers is dominant. The straight in is recessive. So if you have a child, and his goes straight in, but yours is a hanger-downer, then you have one each. You have the dominant gene, recessive, and your spouse has the other one. If you gave one of your dominant genes to your kid or your spouse, they're going to be hanger-downers. But when both you and your spouse give the recessive gene to your child, though yours looks like this, the child goes straight in. And a lot of folks think that's proof of the postman. No, it's not. There's some husbands who use that to claim she was cheating on him. I mean, they don't understand that that's genetics. It happens that way. It ain't the postman. It's the recessive gene that you have in your body, you idiot. And they get all mad because the child doesn't look like them. And you know that you think that you're laughing now, but there's some men who are just that stupid.
My age.
And they'll look at that child and go, that's not for my loins. I don't recognize that red hair. But you look back several generations, his great-great-granddaddy,
It's a pool of genes.
they had red hair. But the Pope ain't got red hair. So what's the idiot assume? You cheated on him. And of course you might have. But there's also a better way to explain that. It's called genetics. But in the case of the peas, there's no blending. You didn't get like a 6-footer, a 3-footer. There's either or. Because when he did this, by chance, he picked the perfect plant. Roses blend. White rose,
Red
rose gives you a pink rose. If he used roses, he probably never come up with that. But by this pure chance, the pea plant is completely either or.
Why is that?
Huh?
Why is that?
It's genetics.
Why
I'll tell you more about it later on. You're getting ahead of me.
Remember.
All right. When he was watching this stuff happen, before he came along, all the leading scientists thought blending was the way. They thought, obviously, if you cross a red rose and it happened with the white rose, you get pink. So they all thought blending was it. Mendel, his ideas were brand new. They never thought about red crosses white and you get red. They said that can't. That's like when you mix dyes, you're gonna get a blend, right? So before Mendel came along, blending was the theory. He was rocking the boat when he said his theory. A lot of folks think that monk don't know what he's talking about. I mean, how dare him talk about folks who teach in universities? He's just a monk. They didn't take him very serious. And so other scientists began to do his research and go, this guy's onto something. He's onto something. So before Mendel came along, and blending, they did blend. They did blend. You see dogs all the time do it. But blending we now know is not the only theory. It's just one of the theories. And what Mendel did was that when he took a long stem pea plant this tall, and he took pollen, and he went both ways. He went, it might be the pollen. He said, well, let me take pollen from the short one and put on the long one. And in this acre, let's take tall pollen and put on the short plant. It made no difference which way it went. He first thought the pollen was a trick. This guy, he did all kinds of things. And I mean, his method, and he took notes. He was probably the perfect scientist without a degree in science. He taught high school. He taught high school at the convent. So he was smart, but main thing, he could observe. And he had numbers. He didn't cross one pea plant, he crossed thousands of them. And he counted. I thought, man, what a life. Nothing to do at all, no fishing. But and when he did this, no matter how he did the cross, tall plants crossed with dwarfs always gave tall. The dwarf, where'd he go? He's going, where'd he go? He says, it's in there somewhere. I know it's in there somewhere. So he took two of those and crossed them, and it came back out. Then he had to figure out, well, how is that going to work? How in the world? And he came out with two alleles. We know we have two genes, right? A gene for dominant. He came up with all this stuff here. He did more than just cross. He had some ideas that right now are still true to this day. And he just guessing, and he guessed right time and again. Now, you ever hear of purebred? I had purebred beagles. Now, if you cross a beagle with a blue tick hound, do you get either or you get a mixture? That's the blending. You don't get a beagle or you'll see traits in both of them. It's called mud. Actually, it's called a hybrid. When you cross two purebred, they're like, well, my beagle, when she came into heat, I had to keep all the dogs away from her because she'd make any of them. But I wanted her to make another beagle so I could sell them at $3.50 a pup. I made a lot of money on my dogs. And they sold real fast because both my beagles from championship bloodlines, and I had people to prove it. But when this dog went into heat, if some Irish setter was there, he mated her, and that's a weird looking puppy coming out. It ain't beagle, it ain't setter, it's a hybrid. Now, one time she did that, we took the vet gave her a shot, and the shot kept her in estrus, so she didn't conceive. And so when she was, again, in estrus, when she's dripping, we bred her and had me some more beagles. And it was all awkward where a person would call me and tell, the vet said to call you, I have a beagle bitch. Not a bad word, but they call him. And she's coming into heat. And I want to get one of your beagles to mate her. Well, you must witness it. You must witness it. And I go, So I never mind. I didn't mind with a man, but with a woman there, I'm very uncomfortable. With a woman seeing some dog bang this other dog, and they lock up and get back to back like they do. And
you ever help them?
Huh?
You ever help them?
Shoot, no. If he can't figure it out, I ain't gonna help him.
Got to.
Never had to.
Gotta help.
But if you make an Irish setter, which is a purebred with an Irish setter, you'll always get Irish setters. That's the pure breeding. If you let an Irish setter get with a collie, you're gonna get a hybrid. It's a pretty dog probably, but it's neither what you wanted. So you can sell those, but you have no papers. For no papers, they're worth about $50 each. These bulldogs, they go for $1,000 sometimes. Like the other bulldog, you can get some money off them, but bulldogs have breathing problems because of the way their nose has been bred.
I got a lot of problems.
Huh?
I got a lot of problems.
They do have a lot because the problems are bred into them to make them look like that. I wonder what the first bulldog actually really looked like. Probably not ugly. But we have bred and bred and bred and bred, and when you get a trait you like and you keep breeding, the trait stays there. Even though it's going to affect this breeding mechanism, you can also breed traits out too by continual breeding. Before we quit, let me show you right here. These are the 7 traits that he actually examined. Some seeds were round and some were wrinkled up. Some seeds were yellow and some were green. Some flowers were just purple look and some were white. Some pea pods were fat, blown up, and some were constricted. You see peas inside them. Some pods were green and some were this color. The flower position, some flowers went up and down the seed and some just on the very top. And of course, how some were tall. And we mean like 6 feet versus a foot. A lot of difference. But he would cross all over the place and find out that these were always dominant traits. When you cross a purple flowered plant with a white flowered plant, you always got purple flowers. And when you cross 2 of those plants, you got back your white flowers again. And when you cross a plant with the flowers up and down the stem, which is dominant trait, with one flowers on the very tip, you always got this kind. But when you cross 2 of those, you got the terminal again. And he was trying to figure out, where's that gene going? Why isn't it in that first generation? Why is it always gone? And he answered the question perfectly. And when I do the rest of my PowerPoint, I'll show you how he actually did it. So I'll make a note. I'm on 1 point, and I'll put it on an Angel of the Night for y'all so you can get your own PowerPoint out. And but of all things I studied in college, I think Mendel was one that I most enjoyed. I couldn't believe how this guy was just fastidious. I mean, he was just unbelievable. His records he kept. Okay, so we're stopping there.